Welcome to Detroit Auto Accident Law with Ravid and Associates.
Hello and welcome back to Detroit Auto Accident Law with the trial lawyers of Ravid and Associates. Ravid and Associates is a Michigan-based personal injury firm that's fought for more than 10,000 accident victims statewide. My guest today is Kristian Kajdic, an associate attorney at Ravid and Associates who focuses on civil litigation, no fault, and auto negligence cases. My name is Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're going to break down no fault insurance and explaining what it really means after a crash. Kristian, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again, Kevin.
Yeah, we talked about this in the last episode, but just to refresh in case anyone missed that one, which if you did, go back and listen, it was great. But in case they did miss it, can you explain what Michigan no fault actually means?
Yeah, Kevin. So when an individual is involved in a motor vehicle accident, under Michigan no fault law, they have certain rights. So whether you're at fault for the collision or not at fault for the collision, you're always entitled to these no-fault benefits. And these no-fault benefits include something called allowable expenses. And under this category of allowable expenses includes any medical bills, any personal care somebody might need, or any mileage for going to or from your doctor's appointments. The second benefit that no-fault gives is wage loss. So if you miss any time off of work, you're entitled to wage loss from the insurance company. And then the final one we call replacement services is the legal term in the statute. But the big thing it just means is that if somebody helps you around the house with some chores, taking out the trash, making the beds, cleaning, cooking for you, and you used to do those things before the auto accident, you are entitled to get somebody paid to help you with those chores around the house.
Yeah, I remember when you told me about that last episode, I was like, that's impressive, because I know a lot of states don't have all of that stuff, but some might assume that it means that no one's ever blamed and there's no fault at all for a crash, but that isn't always true, right?
Yeah, so Kevin, when you're in a motor vehicle accident, you have two types of claims. You have your Michigan no-fault claim, which is what we just talked about. So whether you're at fault for the collision or not, you're always entitled to these benefits. So even if you cause this collision, you're still entitled to those, allowable expenses, the wage loss, the household services. The big important thing is whether you're at fault or not for the auto accident. So if you are not at fault for this collision, you're entitled to sue the other driver for pain and suffering. And as long as you're not more than 50% at fault, you are able to bring this claim against the other driver and their insurance company in order to recover money for pain and suffering.
Okay. All right. And how soon can someone get the no fault benefits?
Well, the no fault benefits, with regard to how fast they could get it, is obviously the biggest thing is you have to set the claim up, as we discussed before. And once you set that claim up, you get something called the claim number. And once you have this claim number from the auto insurance companies, you're able to use it anytime you go to get any medical treatments, as long as you give them the claim information. And then same thing with the wage loss and the household services. It's as soon as you incur it. And what incur means under the statute is as soon as it happens. So medical bills is very simple. As soon as you get that date of service of that treatment, that's when it's incurred. Send it to the insurance company, and then the insurance company has 30 days to pay on it. And same thing, as soon as somebody provides the proof for the household services done, 30 days from the day that you submit it to the insurance company. And same thing, once wage loss is verified through your employer, or if you have a self-business, sometimes you may need a 1099 or some type of receipts or tax returns to show that. As soon as the wage loss is confirmed and you've provided those proofs for the insurance company, same thing, 30 days from the day that you missed work, they have to pay on that service.
And then when it comes to the medical bills, how do those get handled under the no fault system? Who gets paid? Who's paying who? How does that all work?
Yeah, so a lot of it depends what type of policy you have. So there's two types of medical policies that individuals could take out. There's something called full policy under auto insurance or a coordinated policy under your auto medical coverage. And the difference is if you have this full coverage, all that means is that the insurance company is responsible for any medical bills that are incurred because of any treatment that you received because of this accident. Sometimes people buy something called the coordinated policy. And the way you're able to get a coordinated policy is if you have health insurance. So if you have health insurance and you choose to buy this coordinated policy with your auto insurance company, what that means is that your health insurance is responsible first for your medical bills, and then anything not paid by your health insurance gets kicked back to your auto insurance, and then your auto insurance is secondary to pay for that.
Okay, that makes sense. So the Michigan no fault reform that happened a few years ago changed a lot. Are there certain big differences that you'd like drivers to understand today compared to the old rules?
Yeah, so the change that occurred back in 2019 was probably the biggest reform that's happened in Michigan no fault, probably for a few decades now. Um, the big change out of all the ones that I see affecting clients the most is before this reform, everybody had unlimited medical coverage. And what that meant is that you can build an insurance company forever with regard to treatment that you receive for injuries from an auto accident. There was no limits. But now, after the reform, insurance companies are able to offer individuals limited policies. So you can buy it, you can still continue to buy the unlimited policy if you choose to, or you can buy a limited policy. So let's say you could buy a 250,000 medical coverage policy. So it's not unlimited. That means insurance companies will pay up to 250,000 in your medical billings, and then once that's exhausted, they're done. They're not responsible for any more coverage with regard to your medical treatment. The scary thing about this is, and forbid if anybody's ever in a terrible auto accident, you can be hospitalized for X amount of days, and that 250,000 policy is gone. So if you need any additional treatment after that, such as maybe physical therapy or rehabilitation or anything like that, and the policy's been exhausted because you had extensive a surgery maybe at the hospital, or you had to be at the hospital hospitalized for X amount of days, that 250 policy could be gone very quickly. And
Yeah, absolutely.
and that's unfortunately the scary part is, and once it's exhausted, technically the insurance company has done their part. They fulfilled their policy and they covered whatever limited, coverage that you have bought.
Is there any recourse that you have after that as a driver? Can you sue for more? Is there you sue the other driver's policy? Like how does that part work?
Yeah, so the only recourse is you can't sue your insurance company once they paid whatever the policy limit is. They're not off the hook with regard to your.
Yeah, they did their part. Yeah.
Yeah, they did their part. The rest of the stuff such as wage loss and the household services or the replacement services, they're still covering because usually there's no limitations on that. But the medical bills is the one that's always limited.
Yeah.
The only other recourse that you would potentially have is, and again, if you're not at fault for the collision or not more than 50% at fault for the collision, you can sue the other driver for your pain and suffering, and then also any excess medical bills that you may have that cannot be covered by your own auto insurance because individual bought a limited policy.
When does it make sense for an injured driver to file that lawsuit?
I guess with regards to filing the lawsuit for your no-fault benefits, it's once the insurance company either delays or denies your claim. Sometimes the insurance companies will ask you to go see one of their specialty doctors that they hire specifically to examine you. And once this examination occurs, more likely than not, the insurance companies will send you a letter that says we will be denying any benefits as of the date of this examination. And that's obviously if you continue treatment after that or you haven't been paid for some treatment before that, it's obviously important to file a lawsuit. And then the other big one I see so often is that individuals send all the proofs that the insurance company needs in order to pay that no-fault benefit. And for whatever reason, the injured party is just not getting any response back from their adjuster from the insurance companies, or they just keep saying that they're working on it or they haven't been paid. And at some point, you can only wait so long. There's no point of waiting. The law says that once you provide them proofs, they have 30 days to pay on this. And if they don't, and they continue to delay the payments, I highly recommend to take action. There's no point of just sitting on your hands waiting and hoping that your medical bills get paid and hope that you get that wage loss that you need, just for your financial aspects. Um, because it's better to bring the claim now than wait it out and then not get paid for X amount of months and then still have to bring the lawsuit against the insurance company.
What do you feel like surprises people the most when they have to, learn more about this no fault system, get involved with the no fault system?
Yeah, there's two things I always see. The first one is sometimes people just don't know what their benefits are. For whatever reason, whether the insurance company is not telling them in great details or, explaining it to them. Sometimes the insurance company will just send you a little package, not explain anything, how to fill the forms out, how to do anything. And, if you don't send it back, then there's no proof. So, they're fine until they receive that proof from you with regard to whatever it might be, medical bills or the wage loss proof or some of the forms for, the household services. Um, the biggest other one that always everybody asks me is, Kristian, why does my insurance company have to pay for no fault benefits if I'm not at fault for the collision? And back in the days, a few decades ago, somewhere in the 1970s, there was a reform in the Michigan no fault where the obviously the legislator decided that it was simpler for people to cover their no-fault benefits through their own insurance. Before that, you would have to sue the other driver in order to get your medical bills covered, your wage loss covered, the household services covered. And once that reform happened in the 1970s, it made it so much easier because now you can just go through your own auto insurance, set the claim up, and then hopefully obviously get paid faster than you would having to bring a lawsuit against the at-fault driver just to recover that, the medical bills, the wage loss, and the household services.
That's a lot easier, right? That's way better than having to sue. Like that would have, like, to get in all that stuff. That's difficult.
It's much simpler because the legal process is not the fastest sometimes. We're bound by the court's schedule, so we can only push the case as fast as we can on our end. At the end of the day, the judges or the courts, they run the system with regard to the time, a case goes through litigation. So back then it would take forever to get your medical bills paid for. And then if your medical bills weren't getting covered, then doctors will not treat you at that time. So it was very difficult. And same thing, people would have to wait, X amount of months or over a year and a half to just get some wage loss. And then imagine not getting paid for that long and then you're trying to support your family.
Not a lot of people can do that. There's not a lot of people that I know who could do that.
I was going to say, even trying to survive, 2 or 3 months is, already tough enough. I could only imagine what, not getting any wage loss for over a year.
Yeah, I could. It wouldn't work for me. I'll tell you that right now. There's because these laws change, there's probably a lot of confusion about rights. If someone doesn't really have a clear idea about what their rights are, perhaps they're feeling like their benefits are being delayed. What can they do to ensure the situation doesn't get worse?
Yeah, the biggest thing is I would recommend having that consultation. At Ravid and Associates, the consultations are free. Spend some time talking to an attorney, understanding what rights that you have, and then obviously to see what the next steps are if you plan on hiring an attorney. The worst thing that you could do for yourself is just sit on your hands and hope that the insurance company will at some point pay your medical bills, pay your wage loss, or pay your help that you received around the house. And unfortunately, hope is not the best. Once you have an attorney on your side in these situations, that is the best way to fight against the insurance companies who are already prepping themselves in order to get a step forward inside your claim in whatever way that they can.
Yeah, they mobilize right away. They're going to get on that stuff as early as possible, right?
I was going to say they're mobilizing as soon as you set the claim up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for today's episode of Detroit Auto Accident Law with Ravid and Associates. To learn more or schedule your free consultation, visit ravidandassociates.com. Remember, you pay no legal fees unless they recover for you. So definitely, if you're confused about these no-fault laws, or if you're in the middle of a situation, definitely give them a buzz. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to leave us a review. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next episode. We really appreciate having you here. Kristian, really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks so much.
Thanks again, Kevin.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.